Well, we ended another week and we're ready to go over all the news that happened this week and prepare ourselves for a shorter week next week because of President's Day. Are you ready? Let's go! Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I'm Micha Stocks from the channel Stock Talk with Micha Stocks, where we talk about stocks, about anything that goes on the stock market. And of course, if you're new to the channel, it would be great if you can smash that like button and add a subscription to your YouTube page, because then you'll get updated every time I post a new video. And another reminder that anything you see here is, of course, not financial advice. It's only for your entertainment and, of course, educational purposes only. Let's start by summarizing the week on the major averages. This is how they ended. The Dow Jones ended on the red side, minus 0.73, S&P minus 0.8, and the NASDAQ minus 0.2. The only one that stayed green was the Russell 2000, the smaller cap companies. This is the second week that we end on the red side. When we look year to date, we can see that most of the averages are still green for the year, but you can start seeing that our curve is starting to fall down, which means that we might be hitting resistance, which means that we might see a few red days in the next week to come. This is the crypto market. Bitcoin is up this week for 13%. ETH is up 12.5%. And year to date, Bitcoin is almost 50% higher than it started the year or ended last year. Amazing. This is the major sectors. You can see consumer discretionary outperforming energy, which was a very, very bad performance this week, minus 6.3%. Oil prices dropping, natural gas prices dropping. This is good for inflation and CPI, which we'll talk about in a second, but it's not good if you're invested in the energy sector. You can see here split down into the drilling down of the industries themselves. And here you can see on the chart, you can see all the different sectors, and you can see how energy is dropping between Thursday and Friday. It's not that easy to understand why the drop happened. Might have been part of US selling 26 million barrels. We'll see that in a second. But beyond that, natural gas is falling pretty fast, and also gas prices will follow up in the next few weeks. This is our heat map. You can see, again, energy sector very red. All the others between red and green, depending on the sector and depending on the company. Nothing special to report here. And these are the 17 top weekly companies that we follow. Between ARK, that had a great week of 6.9% gain. Tesla, 5.8%, versus Shopify, which reported this week and didn't have a good stock performance after the report, down 9.7%, and PayPal as well. CPI came in this week, and we're still seeing the disinflation playing out, but we do see an increase of prices during January, which means that the Fed has all the reasons to keep hiking rates. And if we're talking about keep hiking rates, we're going to touch upon that in a second. We do see that US retail sales came hotter or better than expected, depending on which side you are. But when you adjust it to inflation, you can see that there isn't a lot of things to celebrate here. They mainly hunch between month to month. PPI came in hotter than expected. The expectation was 0.5%. It came 0.7%, which means that inflation is still here. And if we're talking about inflation, Fed Mester, Cleveland's Fed, came out and said that she is not taking off the table 50 basis points. Same for Bullard. This frightened the markets, which said maybe we didn't price in all the hikes, and that's why we saw Thursday and Friday being very, let's call it, touchy for the different investors. And as I mentioned, if you're here and you liked it so far, you can smash that like button. Let's start by summarizing the major headlines. Super Bowl was one of the third or sixth biggest viewed sports event ever. I think even a program ever. 113 million viewers, and this is a result of a great game, and also people waited to see something interesting on TV. All these companies reported this week. The 3 or 4 companies that actually had a very good report were Airbnb, Cisco, Twilio, DraftKings, and Deere. Of course, between all the others, there are some more good companies that reported, of course, like HubSpot and other, but those are the ones that made the major headlines. The balloon saga continues this week. We'll see it in different headlines. So the U.S. keeps taking down balloons. At the beginning, it was declared as a Chinese spy balloon. Now the Flames are trying to turn down the heat and say, you know what, it might not be a spy balloon, maybe a weather balloon or something like that. But also Russian balloons are being shot down, and of course, there's a lot is happening around Alaska and other places in the U.S. U.S. right now is trying to calm things down, especially on the China front. On the Russian front, a bit less. We'll see it in a second. And this is why I meant that we'll see in a second. United States tells its citizens, leave Russia immediately. This came out on February 13th. That is 6 days ago. I have no idea what ignited this, but there might be something happening behind the scenes that we should know about. Between Microsoft and Google, between ChatGPT and Bard, Microsoft is leading by far. You can see that the spread between their PE, their price to earnings, is the widest that it almost has ever been. And that means that Microsoft is getting all the benefits versus Google is getting all the pain. Usually, this finds itself calming down the spread, which means that Microsoft stock will go down and Google stock will go up. But it doesn't have to be. If Google doesn't get their thing together, it might be a problem. Uber signed a multi-year contract with Google and Oracle. The reason why it's a headline is because Uber up until now did not move their data to the cloud, and that's why it's a significant step for them and, of course, for Oracle and Google. Ford expected to open a new battery factory for $3.5 billion in Michigan with a Chinese company. Raises the questions, is the U.S. giving subsidies with the Inflation Reduction Act to China? Of course, Ford tried to minimize the influence of the Chinese party there and CATL, but it's still a Chinese company. The Qatarians are trying to acquire Manchester United. We're going to talk about that in a second. And Mike Wilson from Morgan Stanley, and we'll see others as well, is saying, guys, you're celebrating too early. We're still in an earnings recession. Prices and stock market should not go up. Be careful. That is Mike Wilson providing his alert to everyone. Twilio cuts 17% of their workforce. By the way, they did it before they released their results, and their results were stellar of results. Amazon proved that one of the startups that they acquired, Zoox, that has a robotaxi, can drive that robotaxi over a mile on a very distinctive route with employees inside. So, of course, employees were not inside yet, but they will be, and that's a great step forward for autonomous driving. This is what I talked about on the energy complex. 26 million barrels of crude oil were sold from the petroleum reserves. The SPR keeps being maybe the biggest influencer on the price of oil. And the Saudis, which are not happy from price of oil going down, might do something to impact the prices as well. This is Bank of America's Global Fund Manager Survey. The managers or the global fund managers right now are reducing the likelihood of a recession. This joins, of course, with their CEO that says that he sees very strong and resilient companies, and he's not so sure that we're going to see a recession. This joins Goldman Sachs CEO that says that he sees softer landing, or at least his visibility for softer landing is better. Apple and Amazon are expressing their interest in buying the rights for the NBA, competing with NBC, of course. This is one of 2 train accidents that happened this week. This was in East Palestine, where there was a huge eco damage from a trail that derailed from the tracks. It's in a place called East Palestine in Ohio. A lot of chlorine is in the air, hydrogen. There's a lot of hazardous material in the water. And there's a big debate, why wasn't it covered in the right way in the major media outlets, and why only civilians were the one that posting the pictures. At the end of the day, it's a huge, huge problem for people that live there, because their water right now is polluted and no one knows how long it's going to take. And of course, their air is polluted. A very, very dramatic event. And no one knows why it happened. So I have no idea if it was malfunction of the brakes, the tracks, or a terrorist attack. And no one actually knows. Or maybe there's someone that does. Katie Stockton, that analyzes fear and greed index, says everyone right now is greedy, which means that the stock market usually is close to a peak, at least for the short term, and might go down. So be careful. She is joining Mike Wilson with their warning on the market. Biden administration, part of their Inflation Reduction Act, combining with Tesla and opening 7,500 of the superchargers. And that is, of course, something that Tesla used, the superchargers were used only for Tesla vehicles. And during the next few months, they will be open, at least in 7,500 locations in the US, to other electric companies. That will open the ability for Tesla to monetize a lot of the subsidies around the Inflation Reduction Act. Google CEO keeps, let's say, is very stressed from the situation around ChatGPT and Bard, which is Google's ChatGPT, and sending an email to all the employees saying, guys, you've got to test it out. You got to make sure that it works because we want to release it to the market. And they were caught pretty unprepared. Ford, on the other hand, halts their production and shipments of the electric F-150 Lightning. It's a bad headline, but from my opinion, I think it's a very good headline for Ford. The reason for that is because Ford is basically identifying problems that they have and they're going to fix it. That's a lot better than cars, blowing up or starting flames inside, like happened to GM and Bolt. So I don't know if Ford, I know that Ford stock didn't like it, but I think that Ford as a company is a lot better from identifying it before shipping out those cars. And I'm not a Ford stockholder, so it's not, I don't even have any reason to say good or bad. We talked about that. Warren Buffett, with a very strange sell over the course of Q4, sold $3.7 billion of his Taiwan semiconductors. It wouldn't be that dramatic if he didn't just acquire them, or at least 100% of or at least the amount that he acquired a quarter before that. Now, Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway are not traders. They're not a hedge fund. When they do something like that, it means that something very bad, they found something very bad. Whether it's in the books, whether it's the tensions between China, Taiwan, and US, I don't know. But this is very, very strange and alarming. 86% of their holdings were sold after less than 3 months. YouTube CEO Suzanne Wojcicki is leaving YouTube after a very, very long tenure, and we'll congratulate her and say good luck. Tesla sold out all her Model Ys for this quarter, so if you want to get your Model Y for this quarter, you probably cannot do it unless there will be inventory that would be available. And they also confirmed that they have sold 285,000 full self-driving units, which means, let me do the math very quickly. It's 19% take rate. In all the models that I've seen, people predicting Tesla's not only revenue, but earnings. Because it's software, they can basically write around 70% as earnings from this revenue, which is dramatic. No one put this high of a number in models I've seen. 5%, 6%, 3%, 7%. No one got to 19%. Now, will it stay 19%? I have no idea. But if it stays 19%, very quickly we will hear of Tesla being not only a car company, but also a software company, which most of Tesla investors keep saying that it's not only a car company. Mark Zuckerberg is rolling out new features in Facebook, Messenger, chat, a lot of things around that, and he wants more developers to jump into their ecosystem. Chinese are sending diplomats to Taiwan to start relaxing the tension between the two countries. But on the other hand, China sanctions Lockheed Martin and Raytown for selling weapons to Taiwan. President Biden, in his special speech during the week, said, "I'm not apologizing for competing with China." Okay, you shouldn't apologize for that as well. And that he's gonna talk to President Xi. Hopefully that will reduce a lot of the tension that we've seen because of the balloon. Moderna stock fell 5% because they did not surpass a test that checks that their COVID, influenza A and influenza B or C works as it should. And that's why the stock went down 5%. This is the second train derailment that happened this week. And bar charts takes this chart from Bank of America that says that the S&P might fall down to 3,800. It's around 4,100 as we speak in the next month. By the way, behind the scene, there's a lot of trading around volatility. People are buying the fact that volatility might go up, which means that the stock market might go down. This is the third warning that we see during the week. On Friday, we heard that Tesla might acquire a metal miner lithium company called Sigma in Canada. And this might be the new owner of Manchester United, the Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad Al Thani. He wants to buy 100% of Manchester United. Of course, the stock really liked that because he's buying it for a premium. And also on February 15th, the NHTSA, National Highway Association, Transportation Association, announced a recall for over 350,000 Tesla cars because of a problem on their FSD beta. It was solved by an over-the-air update. Now, that is one of the biggest problems that Tesla currently has, because when you say recall, you think of going to the garage. But apparently, going to the shop doesn't mean going to the garage when you have Wi-Fi. So Tesla cars can update and do some, if not all, of the recalls over the air, which means that if you compare it to Apple and your iPhone, if Apple releases an over-the-air update, is that a recall? Think about it. DocuSign is also reducing 10% of their labor. Apple is starting to release employees. Right now, they're releasing only contractors, but probably employees will be next. Some of the bad news for Apple as well is they're delaying their augmented reality and virtual reality headset until June. On the other hand, Microsoft is starting to pitch to advertisers the fact that Bing, ChatGPT, will have ads in it, which means that you can start promoting your brand on Bing and ChatGPT. And those were the headlines for this week. Let's get prepared for next week. Next week, or the week is going to start by Monday. No trading. No one's going to lose money on Monday. Tuesday, we have existing home sales. But the major event for this week is 2 p.m. Wednesday, February 2nd, FOMC minutes will be released. And on Thursday, we will get the PCE on the PCE on Thursday, February 23rd. When we look at companies that are reporting this week, we can see this is mainly a retail week. We have Walmart, we have Home Depot, we have others like Coinbase and Palo Alto, which is a cyber company. We have Toll Brothers, Public Storage, Baidu, Wingstop, TJX, Fiverr, Wix, Nvidia, Lucid, Unity, Etsy, and on. You can see the list in front of you. And last but not least, the chart of the S&P 500. This is the chart from December 28th. We can see we were on an upward trend. We have broken that trend in the last day or two. As you can see, the line here shows that we have broken the trend. The trend is something that you can see the chart keeps touching on and dropping. This does not mean that the market is going to crash tomorrow morning, but it is another warning sign that there are problems around the price between 4,100 for the S&P and 4,000. If we go with Bank of America, it means that we might go down to 3,800. If we measure where we ended Friday to 3,800, that might bring us for a 6% decline. Now, I have no idea if that's going to happen. I did not come from the future, as you probably know, But we need to ask ourselves, if we again see a drop in the market, what are we going to do with our portfolios? And I am not a financial advisor, but I am trying to get you prepared from educational purposes what to think of when things like that happen. So if you enjoyed everything, and if you're here still till the end of the video, it would be great if you can smash that like button. And of course, share this video with as many people as you can, because I don't think there's a better way to summarize the week and get prepared for the week ahead. Till next time, till next video, I'm Micha Stocks. See you.